Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan.
I'm James.
And I'm Callum.
And tonight it's a banger. We're talking Us.
Us, baby.
Oh, God.
See, why couldn't David... If David Bowie was still with us, I'd like to think he'd be in this movie.
Oh, man. Well,
David Bowie.
Now you've got me thinking about all sorts of possibilities.
Like Twin Peaks? Is that making...
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but first off, some housekeeping we need to address.
So we've always been talking about how to make this show better, and our probably main biggest problem is the time constraints, which in the future we're going to try and work around. Tonight, however, we got very, very lucky. We didn't know this was going to happen until just a few minutes ago. But Matt, who our friend whose show is on after hours, he's not coming in tonight, so we'll have at least the 2 hours to discuss Us and a lot of other stuff. So that'll be good.
To talk about.
Yeah, and that'll be good because we don't have to rush. Because I think the problem with the show is we're always rushing. So first, like Nathan said, some housekeeping. I've started putting timestamps in the description. So if you haven't seen a movie or haven't seen, if you're not interested in something you want to talk about, you can skip to that in the description. Yeah, so all the topics we talk about are marked.
Like bookmarked.
Yeah, so you can click on your podcasting app, it should be clickable, so you can, or if it's not, you can always just slide the slider. But I think most people, we only have 3 listeners, but I think most of them listen to the whole show. I'd hope so. I don't know if there are skippers. I don't know if our show is really
If you are a skipper, message us and tell us what your favourite sections are.
Yeah, exactly. What would you like us to focus on? And does it make sense when you skip? Because we do a lot of callbacks and stuff. So, not all episodes will have timestamps from now on. Like our Captain Marvel episode, we started talking about Captain Marvel and we ended talking about Captain Marvel. So, yes, we talked about a lot of things to do with comic books and Captain Marvel and the MCU, but I couldn't timestamp everything, and it wouldn't make sense for you to skip to a certain part of the conversation because then it wouldn't make context. So, most episodes will only have the timestamps in the description if
there's more than one subject.
If we have separated topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also the social media links are in the description as well, and hopefully we'll add to those links in the future if we get more social stuff going in the future.
As always, please let us know how you listen. We're always wanting to hear your feedback, any listeners from around the world. Yeah,
make sure to like...
Because we are an international show.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Apparently. I reckon that one guy is a Russian bot who followed us.
Hey, still international.
I was going to say, Kremlin's still international.
But share the Facebook page with your friends and follow us on Twitter. Yeah, the more the better. I think that's it for that stuff. So, I was a bit worried about doing this, but now we have a bit more time, so we can just chill out. I want to talk a bit more about Lego Movie 2.
Okay.
Because last week...
More thoughts?
Yeah, I apologise to listeners for repeating myself, but we're just... Because we don't have the time, we're always racing to finish what we're talking about. And, sometimes...
Thoughts never get completely decompressed.
Yeah, and so, I'll start a thought and then just have to drop it. And, or someone will start saying something and we'll just have to forget. And, oftentimes, 40 or 50%, sometimes more, of my notes just go completely unread or unused. So I have all this stuff I want to talk about, and we never have time to actually discuss it. So it always ends up spilling over into the next week, and it's always been so long since the last week, and people don't really care. And I think our 3 listeners do listen. I think they listen every week, but there might be some people who only listen to the episodes of movies they've seen.
The controversial ones.
Or the controversial ones. Yeah, so, there might be only people who, when there's a big blockbuster movie that we talk about, they listen to that episode. So they might, I might be talking about, the Lego Movie 1 episode that people haven't heard, and then I start talking about it the next week, and it ends up separating one review into,
3 or 4.
2 or 3 mini reviews in which I never really get to expand.
You don't accomplish the goal.
Yeah. So like we said at the start of the show, we're working on ways to fix this. Hopefully we'll have sort of be trying to work around the constraints of the time slot we have at the radio studio here. Hopefully we'll get some slightly longer episodes. And we're also been talking about doing like bonus episodes that are recorded on other days, not just on Tuesdays.
And some episodes, if for our very few live listeners, will be the same length in the same hour, but the podcasts might be longer.
Yeah, the ones that aren't recorded in the studio can be any length.
Yeah, so there'll be some episodes where we'll say Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
We'll have the first half of the episode in here, and then another half will be recorded after the show.
Yeah. And then after the live portion of the show.
And then all 6 parts of the Star Wars episode will go.
Oh, hey, don't worry. I've got a whole thing planned for when episode 9 comes out. It's like, multiple episodes, stitched together.
It'll take us an hour to address 15 minutes of the movie.
Which is how I want it to be. Also, I'm planning to re-upload the Star Wars episodes we did for the old show, which I think most people who listen to this show have listened to those episodes or have listened to the old show, so they generally know what we're talking about when we talk about Star Wars.
Still a good idea.
But I wanted to, in the lead up to episode 9, originally I was going to, the week before, just drop them all.
Well,
which I think is a bit too much.
There's a lot to digest.
Yeah, so I think in the weeks before episode 9, I'll slowly release all the Star Wars episodes we did for the old show, because that'll provide a lot of context for when we talk about episode 9.
But also, one of our goals as well, listeners, is to also try and get onto YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, we've been a bit lax with the social media. We were planning to kind of be really active, especially on Twitter, but, life gets in the way. So, yeah, hopefully eventually we'll be on YouTube and be tweeting more and stuff. So, yeah, keep an eye out, keep an ear out for that. And like I said, in the description, there'll be, links and information. So, yeah, in terms of what I wanted to say about Lego Movie 2...
So, we've already gone off topic.
Yeah.
Back to topic. Lego Movie.
That was a lie. What I wanted to talk about was how Lego Movie 2 is a better movie than Last Jedi. I tricked you. Now, last week, we were talking about how I've mentioned The Last Jedi. We mentioned the Last Jedi so much that we should have an alarm sound for every time.
I investigated this. I actually was serious about this.
So did
I looked everywhere on the internet for royalty-free sound effects that would work well with the show and the topic. However, I'm not a greater fan of using like an alarm or a horn sound because that can interfere with people's commutes or it's kind of dangerous. But at the same time, you have to pay, man. Every one of the good services are like asking you for like a membership cost to cover the license fees and whatnot. The sounds themselves are royalty free, but
to actually obtain
the sound and to use it, but you have to be a member of these sort of sites. But the problem is, I'm not sure where we would stand on personal use or not personal use because we're operating for a radio station.
So. I also had a look and I did find a couple of like siren sounds that would have been good, that were free, didn't even have to pay. But yeah, it's like I was talking with Nathan and it's like we didn't really, we felt like if we couldn't do it well, we wouldn't do it at all. But in saying that,
didn't stop them making Star Wars movies, did it? I'm sorry about that. When you said if we can't do it well, we should do it wrong. That didn't stop them.
Yeah, they should maybe follow that rule. In saying that, though, personally, I wanted to use the Death Star Imperial Alert alarm, but then of course there's way too many copyright issues there, especially live on the air. We don't want to do anything that goes against the broadcast laws or whatever. And we want to try and keep the podcast from getting striked or whatever. But I feel like our listener base is small enough, our reach is small enough that we can probably get away with putting it in the podcast. So I'll edit it in afterwards. So when we're live on air, we won't be able to hear the sound. We won't play the sound, but when I'm editing the podcast, I'll drop in the alarm sound. Now, I was going to use the Death Star alarm, but I think the Blockade Runner alarm sounds better, so I might use that one from the start of the original Star Wars when they're in the ship and C-3PO and R2 are running. That alarm sound, I might use that one instead, and we'll see how it sounds. I'll edit it in, and then if there are any listeners can tell me if it's really annoying, we won't do it, because we mention Last Jedi every week.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, it's going to be an alarm every week. And if worse comes to worse, and for some reason there's copyright problems, I'll just re-edit the episode and take it out.
Also, it's important for us to have this thing going because it doesn't always help the conversation to bring Star Wars into it all the time.
Look,
I know that's who we are.
I would disagree.
Yeah, I know that's who we are.
Like, for me personally, like the I don't even know, the mishandling of Star Wars is so
far-reaching.
It's like destructive and so
it's a tragedy.
It's a
catastrophe.
It's a complete catastrophe that's rippled throughout movie-going culture, to the point where even not so good movies are better Star Wars movies than legit Star Wars. And it's just when not just Last Jedi, but the whole like new Star Wars thing, it's like, for me, it's not just us being Star Wars fanboys, it's like us being movie fanboys. It's like, we want good movies. We don't care about the Star Wars stuff. Well, we do, but like, it's, how can you mishandle something that badly
and that beloved
and still pretend like you've made these excellent movies that everyone who doesn't like is a bad person?
And it's like, and Disney would have known going into this that they know that the fanboys lean a certain way with their devotion to the series, the saga. They lean hard.
Yeah. Go hard or go home.
Yeah. So it's like, how can you do this to the fanboys? Like, don't tell me there's not...
Look, there's definitely a toxic part of the community, exists, but people who don't like the new movies for legitimate reasons like us, we're not that.
No,
we just love movies and we want the movies to be good, and we love Star Wars.
There's that reaction against, and this goes for not just the Star Wars. This also goes for all older movies which are getting remade with more
beloved franchises,
diverse casting, and different directions.
Indiana Jones.
Well, yeah, but there's also this reflex from the mainstream reviewers and mainstream critics to say that anyone who doesn't like Star Wars or who doesn't like reboots X, Y, or Z is an incel.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so
there's definitely a toxic part of the culture, but I
think that's fanboy culture generally.
A bad movie's a bad movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. We legitimately criticize the problems in these new reboots, especially Star Wars. We're not just angry, racists. It's like we legitimately love movies and Star Wars, and we want them to be good. And when they're not, and then the companies who are making them pretend like we're the bad guys and alienate the fan base that they require to make their money and required to watch their product. And
you can't tell me that there's not just like a small part of Kathleen Kennedy's brain. Then when she's watching these movies and she watches the other movies, she knows she knows it's not that great.
You know why I disagree with you?
Yeah.
I don't think she likes the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't think all these people who make the big decisions, I think they look at like old Star Wars, the original, and they probably look at them as quaint. Do you know what I mean?
It's also like I've said in the older Star Wars reviews, they don't understand Star Wars. They might like Star Wars, but they don't really understand.
They might look at the old ones and be like, "Oh, it was good for its time, but now we can use green screens."
Yeah, now everything has to be louder and faster and dumber.
So I think that they appreciate old Star Wars, but they love new Star Wars.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, we're going wildly off topic.
That's all right. We got time now.
Time. What's
breathing room?
What's this feeling?
Hey guys, guess what we can do? We can not say anything for 30 seconds.
Do we want some dead air?
No, we can't do that.
But see, we don't have to worry now.
So much more room for opinions.
I can actually breathe.
But so what were you saying? How is Lego Movie 2?
Back to how Lego Movie 2 is a better... So I mentioned this last week and I had to rush so quickly because I was worried about taking up too much of the show and because you guys hadn't seen it and I was worried the listeners hadn't seen it either. So I was like, you know what, I should just end what I'm saying now and move on. But in doing so, I kind of cut off the head of my point. So for most people who haven't seen Lego Movie 2, this will make no sense. If you have seen it, it'll make some sense, hopefully. Basically, in my remake of Last Jedi using Lego Movie 2 as a basis, which Lego Movie 2 is not the best, not a great movie, but, you know, still will end up being better than what the Last Jedi ended up being. So Rey is Emmett. Emmett, for you guys, is the main character of Lego. The
Emmett
Lego
Brown?
movie. No.
I know.
Different Emmett. Emmett Brickowski. Yeah.
Okay, Emmett
Such a good name. Brickowski. It's so good. Anyway, so Rey is Emmett. And Emmett in Lego Movie 2, he's looking for an answer to, you know, it's an identity crisis. Like he wants to better himself. He wants to be cooler. And that's kind of like Rey. You know, she wants to find out who she is, where she comes from. So Rex, the character in Lego Movie 2, Rex Dangervest.
Dangervest.
This is Kylo, right? So Rex is trying to tempt Emmett into his way of life, being cooler, being more badass, playing by his own rules, breaking stuff instead of building stuff. And Kylo is tempting Rey to the dark side. See where I'm going with this? Hey, Ryan Johnson, I'm making a better Star Wars movie than you, making a joke about Lego Movie 2. Please come on our show.
If Ryan Johnson's listening, he knows we love to rewrite movies. So next time he's finished with the script, pass the script. Yeah. We'll do a second draft.
We'll do a second draft for him
because he doesn't do more than once.
Also, somehow, I don't think he'll come on our show.
No, I don't think anyone's ever going to come on this show. Also, Brick and Looper are really good, so you know you get a pass. So Finn is Lucy. Lucy is Emmett's sort of girlfriend in Lego Movie. And she's trying to help Emmett, you know, in his journey, just the way Finn is trying to help Rey in her journey. Then you've got Captain Phasma is General Mayhem. So General Mayhem in Lego Movie 2, she's already got the mask, you know, the helmet.
Is she also a non-character?
No, she actually has more character development than Captain Phasma, but that's my point. Is if you remake The Last Jedi using Lego Movie 2 as a template, you've got a perfect role for Captain Phasma to play, because Lucy and General Mayhem kind of face off against each other and end up kind of butting heads and trying to figure stuff out together. So you can do that with Finn and Captain Phasma, who have history, but now they're fighting each other. It writes itself! We always joke, but it writes itself. Yeah, and like I said, there are themes of identity, belonging, change, all things that Rey should have gone through in the last couple of Star Wars movies, and she doesn't because they're poorly written.
But why make a character struggle through that when you can make her good at everything and she doesn't have to struggle?
Exactly, just make her Superman, and then that's it. End of movie. She moves some rocks, and then we're supposed to be happy about that? I don't know. Anyway, but in this, I wasn't really sure, like, who's Luke? Batman.
Yeah.
Luke is Lego Batman. It's perfect. And not only that, but Batman, he's a sort of supporting character in Lego Movie 2, and then that way he doesn't overshadow all the other characters.
But you still know he's the Batman.
Yes, and he makes himself very, very present and known. And then, so in this terrible analogy that people are yelling at me to stop, Snoke is Queen Whatevera. Now, Queen Whatevera is the quote-unquote villain of Lego Movie 2. And Batman and Queen Whatevera have a sort of relationship, for lack of a better word. So, but in my version of The Last Jedi, based on Lego Movie 2, Luke and Snoke have this section of the movie, have this relationship.
I can see how those pieces fit together.
Trust me, if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Or if you have and you don't know what I'm talking about, you know. But yeah, so you've got Luke kind of fighting his way through Snoke's lair and you know, butting heads with Snoke, just the way Batman and Queen Whatevera butt heads in her palace.
And that way we'd actually get to see Luke do something cool.
Exactly. Yeah, and he'd actually be a part of the story and
not just drinking some blue milk.
Yeah, not just being grumpy old man on an island. An ice cream cone is General Hux.
Okay.
That out of context makes no sense, but if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm saying. You know, ice cream cone is Queen Whatever's aide. So, and he's always like, you know, he's a stuffy English kind of butler. So that's kind of
he's Imperial.
That's Hux's role in the Star Wars movies anyways. He's just
with
a
more
stuffy,
or less yelling?
Less.
Okay. Just wanted to...
Yeah. Better acting from Richard Ayoade, who plays Ice Cream Cone.
Better acting from Plastic.
Yeah. So, yeah, it writes itself. Hollywood, come at me. Please, you know, put the check in the mail.
We'll start rewriting movies.
Yes, based on other movies that aren't.
You can tweet links
good,
to your. You can tweet links to your Hollywood drafts at Tuesday Review AU.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
Yeah. Tweet us your draft.
Slide into our DMs.
Yeah, we'll rewrite it for you. But anyway, one of the reasons I mentioned this, as much as I'd love to keep talking about Lego Movie 2, which even like seriously, I didn't even get to talk about Lego Movie 2 properly either. Like I just went straight onto the Star Wars stuff because I thought that would fit our brand, which I don't think people even like. But anyway, the reason I mention this is because it kind of ties into our next topic, which is the leaked poster for Episode 9, which is almost certainly fake, but it's
we can't
insane.
be sure.
And we can't be sure because the Star Wars movies have gotten so bad.
Please be fake.
That we can't tell if it's a joke or not. Like, we can't tell if it's fake or not.
So, if you haven't seen the leaked poster, it has all of the characters spread around the poster, as these movies do.
It wasn't officially released. It was leaked on Twitter and then immediately removed.
Yep, so that's warning signs.
Which gives credence to the actual leak.
So, the problem with the poster is that it has number one. It has the Knights of Ren, which that's problematic because they were loosely introduced in the first movie, and they were gone for basically the whole first.
And now you're
movies
introducing them in the last movie.
Number two, the other problem is there's a really awful looking new alien creature in there. We don't need any more.
Yeah, but like, why is he in the poster and why is he making that weird dumb face?
It's so bad,
and it's so bad we can't tell if it's fake or not because of how bad these movies are.
You know, Porgs did enough damage.
Yeah.
That's enough.
In a series where there's Porgs, like, of course there's going to be a dumb alien with a dumb face on the poster.
And problem number 3, C-3PO is wielding Chewie's bowcaster.
Yeah.
Now, that just feels wrong to me.
It's insane.
That's not who C-3PO is.
And
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
But see, like, as soon as you showed me the poster, like, I messaged you and I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's real because of how dumb these movies have been so far.
But also, there's some characters that have been leaked in toys for Episode 9 that are in this poster.
That's true too. So there are new characters that are in the poster which people are suspecting that might be legit.
Because there are toy lines that have been sort of released in, I think they were like children's books or something, and there was like characters, and some of them were from 9.
Okay.
Having said that, we don't know how it's true all of this conjecture is.
It's probably fair. There's also no R2 in the poster, if that means anything.
Maybe they're replacing him with BB-8 with his slot machine
gun. Is BB-8
gun.
in the
BB-8
poster?
is in the poster next to one of the new characters.
Oh.
We're legally not allowed to show this poster, I'm sure, but we can describe it to you.
We won't post it up. It's pretty easy to find.
It's real bad.
It's really bad. At the moment, I'm leaning towards it being real.
Yeah, like at first I was like definitely fake, and then now I'm leaning back towards.
Here's why I think it's real. It makes me feel really bad about Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like
so staying in line with the whole Disney.
Yeah. So I look at it and I'm like, that's so stupid. It has to be real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a fantasy poster where it's like, oh, it's like my ideas about Star Wars on a poster. I'm like, that's so good. It has to be fake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, it's like it's so bad that it fits in what we've seen. Previous.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm being serious. I worry it's because it looks so bad.
Well, like one thing I thought was cool is like it has the Knights of Ren, it has these cool new meaner looking stormtroopers that I think they're red. I don't know if it's the light or if they're actually red. But
it wouldn't surprise me if they are red, but it also could just be illuminated
just the
from
lighting.
the lightsaber.
Yeah, and then there's like the new Dorito-shaped TIE fighters, and I'm like, this is stuff we should have seen in the first movie. Where was this cool new stuff in Force Awakens?
And one of the other things, now I'm not sure if this was in 8, but there's some cool sort of cracks on Kylo Ren's helmet.
He destroys his helmet in Last Jedi,
but he's wearing it again in the poster, and it's sort of, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, so that's either the person doing the fake remembering that he smashed his helmet and adding the cracks, or J.J. Abrams being like, we can't have Adam Driver show his face all the time for some reason, and we're bringing the helmet back.
It will make sense if you wore the helmet into battle for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
but the sort of the glow on the cracks are cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like getting rid of the helmet, as much as I hate Rian Johnson's vision and what he, I guess one of the reasons he did that is because he wants to get rid of everything else. But so I was like, but now that it's gone, I'm kind of like, well, just let Adam Driver be Adam Driver. Like, we know what he looks like. There's no mystery.
And I don't know if it's an in-joke or if it's legit, because there's lens flare on the lightsabers.
But don't most of those posters have lens flare off the lightsabers? Like, even the original trilogy ones had a little bit of flare off the lightsabers.
I guess.
Yeah, like, if it was fake, it would have more lens flare coming from places that wouldn't have lens flare, which is typical J.J. Abrams style. Finn has longer hair, so I'm assuming there's going to be a time jump from Last Jedi to now.
They better, because...
Which, if they don't do, is going to be so stupid.
And Chewie's in the poster, which I don't... Oh, wait, of course, Chewie's alright. Yeah,
Chewie's fine.
Yeah, Chewie's fine.
Then why does C-3PO have his bowcaster?
I don't know. Yeah, well, is Chewie's
going to
carrying anything?
No, Chewie's going to use...
He's got the ammo belt. That's it.
He's going to be using Han Solo's guns now.
Oh, no. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Rey looks the goddamn same, like she does in every movie. There's no... One of the problems with Rey is that she always looks the same, and she never has any
When you're perfect,
change
there's nowhere else you need to go.
There's no character development.
Apart from this, she can do like more Force stuff now. That's character development.
Yeah, which she could do before, but then she forgot just so Luke could tell her that the Force sucks, and then she could just remember to do it again at the end of the movie because she stole some old books.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
It's so tiring. These movies are so bad, they exhaust me. It's not my fault, it's their fault. They're so bad, I'm just like, my brain goes into like meltdown mode, and I can't comprehend. You know when someone says something really, really dumb, and your brain like starts imploding? This is what the Star Wars
doesn't
movies...
register.
This is what the Star Wars movies do to me now. It's just like, everything is so insane that I wouldn't be surprised if this was real. So it's almost certainly fake. However, then there was that character reveal of new characters and some of the redesigned old characters for Episode 9, which is Rey in the same costume, but now it's white. Because, of course, that's...
She's a more pure, more powerful Jedi.
Yeah. She looks like Padme in Episode 2 with the white outfit. Poe looking like Nathan Drake over there with his scarf thing.
It's good. Look, it's a good look.
Hey, it's Oscar Isaac.
Timeless.
It's Oscar Isaac. He could wear a trash bag and...
And we'll be like, nice.
Nice. They've pretty much gone full Han Solo with the Finn outfit, with the blood stripe on the trousers and the vest. And is he wearing a vest or a jacket?
I think it's a jacket.
Yeah.
And the two new characters, Zori
and John,
who has a weird kind of helmet.
I don't have the picture. Do you have it on you? Yeah, show Callum.
Zori has like a weird sort of helmet.
Yeah, and there's Janna, who has a bow and arrow in Star Wars.
That's not appropriate for battle.
Now, we've already discussed that C-3PO is carrying Chewie's bowcaster. There's a new character carrying a bow and arrow. I'm just like, I think this is real. It's so bad.
They land... I mean, look, keep in mind, it wouldn't put past me, this is Star Wars. The Galactic Federation prohibits... Much like, I'm guessing there's a Star Trek law. Like, there's a Star Trek law that they do not interfere with underdeveloped species.
Yeah, but the Empire won't care about that.
The Empire doesn't care about that. So maybe they land on a pre-spaceflight civilization, and that's why she has a bow and arrow.
Oh, okay. They're going to do like
that's a stupid
Yeah.
Like,
Or
that's
maybe
so stupid.
It'll just be a high-tech bow and arrow to sell toys.
I was going to say, let's not overthink this. It's just going to be
I was
because
making-
it looks cool.
Yeah.
I was making a point that it's like, it's, you know, why would you have a bow and arrow in a spacefaring civilization?
Because it looks cool.
Yeah, because they've run out of ideas. And,
If we're lucky, it'll be a CG bow and arrow, and it'll
you
look
know, it will
terrible.
be. Yeah, it'll be a laser bow and arrow.
Actually,
But she actually has the arrow, right?
Yeah, there's an arrow in the picture.
can't it at least shoot lasers?
I'm assuming the arrows are going to be like turned into lasers. Like,
That'd be interesting.
or
have like
they're
a laser
explosive.
current running through them or something.
Yeah, they're probably going to be have like the tip is going to charge with like electricity. Yeah, and Lando's in there as well. And one of the things that
Looking
I thought,
like a pimp.
yeah, but one of the things I'm like, it looks kind of fake, is that he's wearing the same thing that Donald Glover's wearing in a Solo.
But then that
And I'm
could
just
be
like,
very that could
why?
be very much
Yeah,
that
but-
could be very much on purpose.
But it's been
because it's Disney quote unquote branding the character.
yeah, it's like they're literally rebranding the character in their new canon. They're like erasing the original trilogy and being like, remember
That's all part of the plan, James.
the new version of Lando and Solo.
That's
Yeah.
all part of the plan.
Yeah, it's so bad.
It's making sure the kids know that this old man is really Donald Glover.
Yeah,
Yeah, forget about the original.
Forget about the original Lando. He's gone.
Yeah.
Forget about Harrison Ford's Han Solo. You've got to watch Solo now to see
Yeah.
that he was a good guy all
yeah,
along.
and now Finn is replacing him.
Yeah,
you know.
because in Disney's mind now, Lando Calrissian, it's like, forget about original Lando.
Yeah.
It's Donald Glover's Lando.
Yeah.
And now it's Lando based on Donald Glover based on Lando.
Billy D. Williams, who played the original Lando, is now playing the
Donald
Donald
Glover.
Glover version of
Yeah,
Lando
exactly.
in this
So,
weird
yeah.
dark timeline we've
Yes,
gone into.
exactly. So Billy D. Williams is playing Lando again, but this time it's not
It's
based
the
on his
solo-
original performance.
yeah.
It's based on Donald Glover's performance of Billy D. Williams' performance. Does that sort of make sense?
I hate this so much. But the reason we talk about it is because we love Star Wars, not because we hate it. I don't think people understand that.
And kind of because it's also funny.
And also because it's so bad, it, like, my brain turns to mush and, like, all you can do is laugh, really.
Yeah. You
Oh,
either
God.
laugh or you cry.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. Well, we've still got a lot of time, which is the first time I've ever said that on any show. So now I don't know what to do with myself. But did you guys watch The Highwaymen?
No, I
Not yet.
haven't seen it yet.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, is it automatically getting trashed because it's got Kevin Costner in it?
It's automatically getting trashed because it's Netflix.
Netflix and Kevin Costner must be the
Yeah.
worst movie of all
People,
time.
yeah, worst movie ever made. It's not bad. It's not great. I liked it. It looked all right. Music was a bit weird. Kevin Costner's really good. Woody Harrelson's good. I like some of the things they did in it. Some of the techniques they used. I like how, you know, how The Post is kind of like a sequel to All the President's Men. This is kind of like a sequel to Bonnie and Clyde. It's like focusing on different things.
Oh yeah.
And
You mean prequel?
No, a side quel.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. And I like how they kind of demystify the Bonnie and Clyde. They de-romanticize the Bonnie and Clyde, because, you know, Bonnie and Clyde was like these cool,
Yeah.
you know, cool Robin Hood, you know. But in reality, they were murderers, and this is told from the perspective of the lawmen who take them down.
Ah.
And so it's kind of like Bonnie and Clyde are the bad guys, like they're murderers. So I kind of like that, how it's like, yeah, it doesn't romanticize that aspect.
That's good because I'm not.
You
Yeah,
have you have Bonnie and Clyde with Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty, which is a good movie. But that's kind of like the romantic version.
And this is like there are movies, you know, like this everywhere, but it always sort of it makes me not uncomfortable, but I never like it when you see the movies about historical sort of outlaws where they were terrible people in real life.
You know what the worst is?
And the movies sort of glorify these people.
You know what the worst is? Legit is the Australia's obsession with Ned Kelly. Like, the guy was just a thief and he killed policemen.
Didn't he when he like robbed banks though, he never robbed anyone in the bank, he would only rob the bank. And I don't know if it's Ned Kelly or if it's another outlaw, but he would like burn the deeds, like the deeds that poor people owed the bank.
Oh, I'm not sure, but all I know is like
he was still a bad guy. I'm not saying, but I'm like
people. You see people walk around with like Ned Kelly tattoos.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, he did kill.
You know, Ned Kelly's next level though because he had the armor. Like without the armor, he would have just been another outlaw. But he was like the coolest Iron Man looking dude ever. Like he's mad respect for that.
But I mean, it's everywhere. Like you have the Sons of Anarchy sort of scene that happened when that show came out. People glorifying gangster bikies, criminals.
Well, I mean that's different as well because there are legitimate bike. I don't know what to call them gangs, but like actual groups of people who are good people.
No, I'm talking about the criminal aspect.
Also, there's so many shades of grey in this conversation because keep in mind that even the Sons of Anarchy had an honor code. The Sopranos had their own version of an honor code. Usually, when you watch these shows, you're not watching take Narcos for example. Do you think that Narcos is the legitimate reality?
Yeah, it's all fictionalized.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what I'm saying though. What I'm saying is that there are these shows and movies that glorify criminal behavior, and there are characters in these shows that are somewhat glorified that are really bad characters.
See, this all there's different circumstances, but a lot of the time, if you can't separate the movie from the actual event.
Yeah, exactly.
And it also depends, there is also the filmmaker's intent and all that. But it's I think some people are just dumb and they're just like, oh, this glorifies violence. And you're just like, no, it's a movie. Get over it.
That's true.
Yeah. But anyway, the Highwaymen's all right. I liked it. It's not great, but it's enjoyable. All I say is you guys won't understand until you see it, but my review is wiretaps. So if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Wiretaps.
Since we have a bit of extra time, a week or two ago, James chastised us, Callum and myself on the show, for not keeping up with the Orville.
Yeah.
Now I'm up to date, and the last episode, Lasting Impressions, I think is the episode name, is one of the greatest episodes of television I've ever seen.
So good.
Hands down, one of the greatest episodes of television I've ever seen. I'm not going to spoil anything because Callum's not up to date.
Yeah, one quick thing I saw, I read there's a webcomic called Penny Arcade, and whenever they upload a new comic, there'll be a blog post, they'll talk about the comic and then whatever's going on in the real world for them. And if you know the Melbourne Convention PAX, these guys are behind it. So one of the PAXs in America is going on right now, and over the flight on the way there, the writer of Penny Arcade watched, I think, the first season of the Orville.
Okay.
And so the current comic is talking about the Orville, and it has a line I liked is the author, because they're just like cartoon versions of the artist and the author. The author says, I'm going to butcher it, but the artist says to the author, there's no teleporters. And the writer goes, that's what elevates it. the fact that it's not just a complete Star Trek ripoff. It does its own thing, and it does its own thing well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't...
Because the transporters,
it's a cheese mechanic. That's what it is. Need to get out of the situation.
Yeah, it's a cheat, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they have to get on a ship to go somewhere. It's not just kind of like, we're beaming.
Yeah, they can't just escape danger quickly.
I just thought I should mention that. I thought that was fun. Check out the comic if you want to. I butchered it, so it's not going to be funny when I say it.
But yeah, the latest episode, Lasting Impressions, it's on a hiatus, of course.
Yeah.
Now, one of our favourite things. But it's it has... The latest episode it's actually amazing. I have no words, man. It's the show as a whole is great. But this episode in particular has some really big laugh out loud funny moments with Borders and Clyden.
Yeah, so good. Those are the best.
Yeah.
So funny.
And it has some, I guess, nostalgia sort of aspects to the episode.
Yeah.
And some of the best sort of feels dramatic relationship aspects to the show are really well done.
Yeah.
I just thought if we had the extra time, I'd mention it because I am up to date. And you're missing out.
Yeah, that was such a good episode. And especially, like I said last week, we're coming off of the big battle episode, which blew us all away. These smaller episodes are still just killing it. They're so good.
How does he do it?
I don't know. I mean, good writers.
I mean, as far as Seth MacFarlane goes, he loves Star Trek. That's how he does it.
But also, he doesn't write and direct every episode. No. I don't think he's directed any of them. I think he's co-written maybe two. But it's whatever spirit he's bringing and whatever the writers are doing and the actors are bringing.
They're all on the same wavelength.
Yeah. and I think the community has sort of gotten. I don't think there's a really big fan base. It might be growing a little bit now, but I think the community around it is generally pretty...
And interestingly enough, there are still critics who say that it's terrible and Discovery's where it's at.
Because those are the people who don't...
Like, I sound like I'm making that. I sound like I'm making that up.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah.
That's because Star Trek Discovery is pretty.
Because it's grimdark.
And it has $100 million budget.
Yeah, and grimdark equals good now, apparently.
It's so cool, it's gritty.
Yeah. God, it's terrible.
The Orville's one of those shows... We've talked about this before, but The Orville's one of those shows where there's a sense of hope.
Yeah.
It has a positive... Yeah. It has a positive message to put forth into the world.
Yeah.
Which we need now more than ever.
Exactly. And just on top of that, it's like still, it's really fun. It's funny. And I think I always say this, the characters are good. Like, I want to see what the characters are doing next.
Yeah.
I want to see them interact. You
want to follow their lives?
Yeah, the new Star Wars, the new Star Trek, a lot of other those kind of shows and movies, it's like, I don't care about anything that's going on. Like, any character could die, and I would just be checking my watch, waiting for the show or movie to end. Whereas the Orville, I'm like, Bortus is doing something stupid, or, Gordon's playing a trick on Isaac. It's like, it's funny. And then when it's not just a comedy, it has serious moments. I think more now, the show's gone more serious, more dramatic than comedy.
But it's real.
Yeah. Like,
you can... The serious moments... The character development is so well done. The serious moments are really serious. It's like... It's not always a comfortable watch.
Yeah, like, some of the holodeck episodes of Next Generation aren't that good. Especially, like, the Lasting Impressions episode of Orville that we were just talking about, like... That has some similarities to episodes of Next Generation when Geordi falls in love with this hollow projection of this female scientist. And those episodes are always a bit cringy and, not terrible, but, never really that great. And I feel like this episode of The Orville, which deals with some holographic, interpretations of people and stuff and relationships. It's like, this was a great episode.
10 out of 10.
So it's like they're not just copying Star Trek. They're doing a really good job of what makes Star Trek great.
I'm gonna have to finish watching it now.
It's so
after
good.
Work tomorrow.
And they're both Gordon-centric episodes.
That's true.
The latest two that Callum hasn't seen since the space battle episode.
Yeah.
And, like, we haven't really had that many Gordon-specific episodes as a whole.
Yeah.
And these two Gordon-specific episodes are really good.
Yeah.
Look, on this show, I'm sure our regular listeners know, we can't sing these shows' praises high enough.
Yeah, the Orville, yeah.
And it's just really good to see such well-crafted science fiction.
Mm.
Moving on to, I guess,
should we move on?
Our feature review.
Yeah, I mean, I feel weird now because we've got so much time.
Well, I mean, we haven't talked about, and I didn't mention this before the show, but Supernatural is having its final ever season next year.
Okay, yeah.
It's the 15th season is the season which they decided. I don't know if they decided to end it or if the network said 15's enough.
I don't know, it's been going for so long.
Like, literally, basically half our lives.
Yeah.
Supernatural's been on the air.
Yeah, it's insane.
So that's interesting. You don't follow the show, do you?
I stopped watching. I don't remember when I started watching, but it's been on so long that it must have been season 7. When did Dean get back from hell? Do you remember?
4 or 5, like not so earlier than that, probably.
I don't know, probably like season 6 or 7. Like not because it was bad. It's just like I had so much,
man.
Yeah, there was too much of it, and I was watching too much other stuff. And
Callum and myself have been watching this show for quite a long time. About 8 years, 8 to 10 years.
I'm going to be devastated. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, man. I'm going to be like Kevin Smith balling. Like, Kevin Smith will post an update, something.
Yeah.
He'll be like, I just saw the Star Wars set, and he'll be crying. That's what I'm going to be like I'll be like balling after Supernatural's done.
We love you, Kev.
Yeah, we love you, Kev. But you cry, man.
No.
He admits it too. He says, as a middle-aged man, he's of that age now where things just make you cry.
Yeah.
But whatchamacallit? Man, what a long time coming. I'm worried the only way they can end it is by killing off Sam and Dean. How else is the show going to end?
I don't know what they're going to do. They can't really stop fighting evil.
I'm hoping that the final season is just a whole season of Monster of the Week. Like, just self-contained stories, because the problem with their long overarching narratives is they get bigger every season. It's just with the, it starts off, you started off with the devil escaping hell.
Yeah.
And then it just gets more insane every season until there's things coming out of the void.
Yeah. So there's an apocalypse every
literally
season.
There's a brand new, more escalated apocalypse every season. So I'm like, wouldn't it be great if the final season was, there can be an overarching narrative, but stripped back. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like maybe Sam and Dean, I don't know, but...
Because they have to end it, they've probably got something more towards the overarching narrative.
I just hope it's a happy ending. These characters deserve some peace and quiet now.
They'll die.
They'll die, but they'll go to heaven.
Oh, man, I can see the cheesy ending from here. Sam and Dean die, and you see them in heaven reliving their best memories, and then just fades to white credits.
Probably anything they're going to do is going to be...
cheesy.
Yeah, it's not going to live up to people's expectations. Like most TV shows, especially long-running ones. It's like...
Well, hopefully they'll keep the comics going, because I know they had comics. I don't know if it's still going.
Didn't they make an anime?
They did.
They did a Scooby-Doo episode. Did you ever watch that one?
I don't think I...
That was really good.
I was going to watch it, but I never did. I remember the one... This is like 10 years ago. The one where they get trapped in like a TV sitcom.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a good episode. See, I like the Monster of the Week episode. Like with the dumb... Yeah.
I just thought I should mention that because that's pretty big news.
Yeah. And you guys said the last few seasons have actually been much better than the kind of middle season.
It ages like a fine wine.
They sort of, they I guess they learn a couple of lessons and they put more focus on Monster of the Week episodes. Yeah. Which usually they're the best type of episodes.
Yeah. It does, a
lot tighter.
Less fatigue of you watching all of them. It's like feels more fresh if you got a new, like an anthology.
A new case,
Should we move on?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, what is this freedom?
I don't know what to do with myself. It's crazy.
So, our feature discussion of the week is the new Jordan Peele movie that is Us.
So, this is hot off the heel. Well, not quite hot off the heels of his first project, Get Out, which was critically acclaimed.
Really, really good. And Jordan Peele sort of came from a comedic background, so people weren't really expecting Get Out, and it did really well. And it's a really good movie, and he kind of... has been kind of forging a new path as a sort of more serious director, horror and sci-fi and so on. And he's been sort of creating these social thrillers, he calls them, which are like thrillers or horror movies but with a social commentary and a social message, which I think is great, and I think he's doing a really good job. And Us is his sort of second film written, directed by him after Get Out. And should we just go straight into spoilers?
Yeah, it's a complicated movie. There's lots to unpack.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll give like a 3 sort of line non-spoiler review really quick.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
Highly recommended.
Highly recommended.
Best movie of the year so far.
Yeah, there are some scenes that are terrifying.
Yeah. Some scenes that are funny.
Yeah. It's a good movie. I would recommend it. The soundtrack is amazing.
It looks nice.
It looks really nice.
The cast is really good. Lupita Nyong'o is like next level good. She's really, really good.
I think all the actors...
I would say it's a well-written, well-crafted horror movie, which kind of plays with like the doppelganger or zombie trope.
Yeah.
Throws a new spin on it.
Yeah.
Incredible cinematography.
Yeah, great.
Give it a watch.
Yeah. Highly recommended.
And full spoiler warning.
Yeah, spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Us, go and watch it. It's really, really good. You'll like it. Unless you're a scaredy pants.
Even then, give it a watch.
Then maybe wait till it's on Netflix or whatever so you can pause it and hyperventilate into a paper bag. But yeah, spoiler warning for Us.
So, the first thing, as soon as the movie started, James was like, I like this movie already.
Yeah, so the opening...
dialogue, the text on the screen.
The text is like... underground and across the US are these unused
like thousands
tunnels,
of miles of tunnels,
abandoned subway tunnels, which I've read, you know, articles about before and watched YouTube videos of like guys exploring this and stuff. Like these exist. There are tunnels under under the US, like not just in major cities but elsewhere, where it's like they just span like, and some of them are like in perfectly good condition, and they're just completely unused. And there are like even like huge like homeless communities who like live in these underground tunnels sometimes, and people obviously go missing, and all these, you know, there are supernatural, you know, conspiracy theories and government conspiracy theories. So the start of Us has this, you know, text about these tunnels, and I'm like, oh man, I love this movie. This movie's like, you know, speaking to my conspiracy theory, you know, loving side of the brain, you know.
and the other cool thing, like the intro comes in and it's like you're looking at bunnies.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
Caged
bunnies.
It's so stylish.
And then the sort of like the text comes up, and I'm like, it feels like it's almost from like the 90s, the sort of font, and it's like, it's really cool. It's really nice, sort of classic horror era. Like splash text,
a red, bright red credit.
Yeah, I'm like, font. Oh man, this is already really cool.
I know. I got the same feeling. This is going to sound strange because they're completely different movies.
Yeah.
But when this movie starts to get going, I got that same feeling that I got when I started watching Dunkirk, where I'm like, I'm here to see something interesting. You know what I mean? Like that kind of.
You're in for something good.
Yeah, as soon as it started, I'm like, well, I'm already liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking where it's headed.
Yeah.
This is going to be good. I got that same feeling that Dunkirk gave me.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much all Christopher Nolan's works gave me. I'm like,
As soon as it starts, you're like, this is going to be good.
And that feeling didn't really, like, there were some moments that were, this movie isn't perfect. There are some moments that I feel were a bit, like, it would be really hectic, and then there'd be a kind of a dip that I feel...
I feel like Get Out is a tighter movie, like it's a bit better overall, but I think there are also maybe less moving parts in Get Out.
That's true.
This is a different movie to Get Out. It's not
but this movie still kept me excited.
It's still really, really
like even the dollar parts, I'm still on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, and there's always something not quite right.
It's the threat in this movie.
Exactly.
It's
the danger.
Yeah. The sort of foreboding, like, you know, sense of dread.
Yeah, nobody's safe.
Yeah, and you're like, what's going on? Something bad's going to happen. But yeah, like there's a lot of foreshadowing in the movie, like there was in Get Out. I think Jordan Peele is really good at setting things up subtly and then paying them off. And then this is a movie you have to rewatch. Like I can't wait to rewatch this multiple times and see all the things I missed. I noticed a couple of things, but it's just like there's too much to notice all on the first time.
Yeah. Also, I was reading the trivia page for the IMDb trivia page, and there was a part where I was talking about references to The Shining.
Yeah,
there's so much stuff I missed. Like
I don't think I noticed that much.
Like there was a few dead bodies and characters who have analogs in The Shining who are positioned in similar ways.
Yeah,
I'm like, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Like, just like that kind of cool stuff. If you pay attention, you can see there's like bits here and there which are referencing Kubrick's works and so on.
Other movies,
like really neat that the background details are so well thought out.
Yeah, I think that's what's great. Like when we saw Get Out, and it's just like, this is a movie you can rewatch and see all the little bits and pieces, and that's what makes a great movie, is like
rewatchability.
Yeah, and like knowing that everything's purposefully and well crafted. You know, even the things that don't really seem to matter at first glance.
Yeah, like the mise-en-scene is on purpose.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, well, here's a house, we'll film in here.
Exactly.
It's like everything's placed there.
Yeah. Which is, it's like sometimes like I feel like a lot of the stuff in this movie that I thought might have been unintentional was probably intentional. So it's like, you have to rewatch it to kind of understand everything, and
just makes me excited to see it again.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't wait to see what Jordan Peele has up next, because I know
that's an interesting thing.
Yeah,
because how can he see? People are like, he can't top Get Out, and while he doesn't top Get Out with this film, he certainly comes closer than I thought he would come.
Yeah,
so I'm like, he's done it again. He every time he brings out a movie so far.
Yeah,
and I am excited for Twilight Zone, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But from what I understand,
I'll talk about that later.
like, everything that he has, everything he directs or has a hand in is good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's he gonna do next?
My only concern is I hope he doesn't feel the pressure to go bigger, because this is a bigger movie than Get Out in a lot of ways. The scope is a bit bigger. I just hope he doesn't feel the pressure. But it's still
a sort of smaller movie. It's like it's not a huge, like there are like post-apocalyptic elements, but it doesn't go into the huge outer, all the rest of the world kind of.
I just hope he doesn't.
There are no big battle scenes or chase scenes.
That's true. I just hope he doesn't feel the need to sort of expand the scope again.
I can't remember if he said this or if I'm like maybe misattributing it to him, but I'm pretty sure that someone asked him, like, if you were given a Marvel movie or whatever, would you do it? And he was just like straight up no. He's like, I'm not interested in doing any of those big sort of tentpole movies. He's like, I want to make my little social movies about problems we're facing now and things like that, which I'm kind of like, I think that's good.
It's almost, these movies are like they're Hitchcockian, basically.
Yeah.
More like a modern Hitchcock.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I feel we should start on with our review.
Our kind of analysis of
the situation of this movie in relation to his work.
What the hell the movie's about.
So the film essentially revolves around a family who are terrorized by a series of doppelgangers who seem to be based on themselves.
Yeah, look exactly like
and
them.
the basically they're fighting for their lives against these people who think like they do, even though it's like a perverted kind of thought.
Yeah.
And also we also find
they're
out
like
that,
evil versions of themselves.
Exactly. And we also find out that it's not just this family.
Yeah.
Now, I'll disclaim. I want to have a disclaimer here because I thought that this film was going to be, my initial thought about this film going in and the bad guys, and this is legit. I thought it was going to be some type of reference about how the African Americans in this film had forgotten the past slave trauma and that kind of stuff.
Oh.
So I went in there thinking it was going to be a black issues movie.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is it turns out that it's a doppelganger and self-reflection movie about everybody, not just... So that's the thing, because I was like, I thought in there thinking, well, Get Out was about social issues.
Yeah.
I expected this to have similar themes, and I was surprised when it turned out to be, not that I would have had a problem, but I was surprised to see that it was a kind of different message.
I also had similar, because I didn't obviously read too much into the movie before seeing it.
Yeah.
Just by watching the trailer.
Spoilers,
I sort of had similar thoughts to Callum. I'm like, because they're in sort of matching jumpsuits. I'm like, is it commentary on like prison or sort of like a slavery aspect to it?
That's interesting. I never even thought of that.
Because they wear the same sort of matching outfits.
And also they don't speak. Like, you know what I mean?
It's sort of... Yeah, I thought it was going to be a movie about maybe the prison system or slavery.
Like that kind of ignoring the past... forgetting the crimes that were committed in the past kind of commentary.
Yeah. But it definitely wasn't in the end.
No.
Yeah. So that's still an interesting theory.
But that's what I went in there thinking was. And there's a scene where you see that the white family has doppelgangers too. Yeah. And I'm like, this movie isn't what I thought it was. You know?
Yeah. Well, the problem with the trailer is it doesn't it spoils it, but not in a really technical way. It just spoils some of the overall feelings you get from the movie and the visuals. So there's a bit in the trailer where it's like you can see that like the whole neighborhood is trashed and they're all dead bodies. And so like I assumed it was going to be like an invasion of the body snatchers thing where there are all replacements trying to kill everyone and replace them and take over the world, which sort of happens in the movie, but not in the way that you think.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of different. Like, yeah, it's not an invasion situation. Yeah. It's more like a
murder and replace.
Yeah, but not even that, because at the end it's like the only reason they're murdering them is to make a statement.
Yeah, it's just murder.
Yeah.
No, so my point, I'm sorry to kind of derail that.
No, that's all right.
It's just interesting that as someone who didn't... Because I didn't want to watch the trailers because, the problem with trailers, and we talk about this all the time, is that the art of trailer making is long gone.
Yeah.
It's just, here's a short summary of the film. If you like it, go see it.
Yeah. Well, we saw how many trailers before us?
Like 2 or 3, and it was basically the entire film.
Yeah, at least 2 of them were the entire film.
There was one specific film in which we saw the trailer.
Pet Sematary.
No, Ma.
Yes.
There was Ma, which with Octavia Spencer.
That's the one I was thinking
where it
of.
literally shows you everything that happens
all
in the
the
movie.
twists.
Yeah, all the twists.
And same with Pet Sematary.
And then
really.
Pet Sematary was the next trailer.
Pet Sematary showed too much, but I'm still going to see it.
Yeah, and then that showed too much.
But Ma could have sold me if I didn't see everything in the movie in the trailer.
What's the point now?
Yeah, now it's like there's no point in seeing
I don't
it.
need to see that movie now. Maybe I'll watch it on Netflix when I don't have to pay.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is that it's interesting that the movie's scope is a lot different than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, to get back on track, the family is terrified and
terrorized by
by this doppelganger family.
Yeah.
And
they
they
all
essentially
have these red jumpsuits.
Yeah, so the story basically revolves around the family trying to escape this disaster, only to find out that pretty much everybody in it doesn't really
at least America.
Yeah, at least America. Everybody in America is being terrorized by body doubles.
Yeah.
And so I suppose we should maybe not go into full kind of...
No, well, we've already announced spoilers, but
maybe we should start off by talking about the technical side of the movie.
Well, yeah, if you want.
So it was interesting. Before we saw this movie, I read that Peele was influenced by The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and I noticed bits and pieces here and there. And the cinematography in this film is I would just call it special. It's really nice.
Yeah, some really good shots.
Some really nice shots, really nice framing. Everything about it. It's just this movie's just classy.
Yeah,
I know that's not a very professional way of saying it. But
I was watching The Highwaymen, and it didn't look bad, but it looked kind of plain. Some of it looked really good, but sometimes it just kind of looked plain. But yeah, then you watch Us, and it's there's some really crazy stuff going on.
And a lot of this movie, a lot of Us is dark as well.
Yeah.
Like visually dark. So it's like nighttime,
lighting
a lot of dark shots, and yet it still looks incredible.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
But now one of the best scenes in the whole film takes place, and not just the scene, one of the best parts of the movie for me is when the what's the family's surname?
I can't remember.
When the protagonist family goes across the lake to their the family friend's home, who also have a lake house, and only to find that they're being terrorized. Well, they've been flat out murdered at this point by their body doubles. Now, this scene is special for two reasons. There's
the Wilsons.
The Wilsons. There's a scene where the mother of this family is getting murdered by the doppelgangers.
Oh, yeah.
With the sound of Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys playing in the background.
Yeah.
And she's crawling towards the little audio bot.
Yeah, she's just trying to crawl away from the killers and the kind of husband.
The husband doppelganger standing
over her, and then she's trying to talk to the what do you call it? Amazon.
Yeah, like the little assistant.
Google Assistant, Home Assistant, or
Ophelia.
Ophelia. And she tries to say, while Good Vibrations is playing, and she's trying to plead for help, she reaches her hand up to the doppelganger of her husband, and he does that really cool, goes to help it, and then he gets raises his hand past his face I'm too cool.
I didn't know Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss were in this movie, and I was so happy to see them. When Tim Heidecker does that thing where he's and he brushes his hair. Yeah. He brushes his hair. I was like, this. And the bit where he's chasing Gabe, the husband, on the boat, and he's pretending to not know where Gabe's hiding, but he can't speak because he's a doppelganger, and they can only vocalize grunts and stuff. Yeah. So he's doing this really cheesy where'd he go? But he can't speak, so it's it's the funniest thing ever. And then Gabe shoots the flare gun at him, trying to kill him, and
and it goes.
You'd think in a horror movie it'll get him and catch him on fire.
There'd be a big gore.
But it just kind of bounces. And Callum's just this is amazing. I was just oh my god, this movie's so good.
And I love the little moment in the house where they're being murdered, and she goes to say call the police.
Oh yeah,
but it mishears it as F the police.
Yeah, plays
by NWA.
At first I thought, this is such a joke to be funny, but then I'm no, maybe he's making a commentary on the fact that the police never showed up at the start of the film when
that's
they
a good point.
But then I'm also, if this is happening all across America, all the police are either dead or busy. So, but I was just kind of trying to figure out.
But the song playing in the scene that comes after is really cool too.
No, but so this before we.
Oh, well, I got 5 on it.
No, when the children are walking through the house and that song is playing in the house as she's walking through with the poker.
What song?
The NWA song.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, if I couldn't tell if that was just a joke or if it was like a commentary on something else.
I thought it was just funny.
Yeah.
The other special scene, the other special moment in that like section of the film, which I thought was really great, is when the older female doppelganger is like she's putting on the makeup and then she's like laughing but also kind of crying at the same time.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really powerful acting.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Elizabeth Moss is great.
I was like,
Elizabeth Moss.
That's awesome. I just like that whole scene. It really reminded me of, for some reason, it reminded me of Twin Peaks. I loved it.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
I mean, Twin Peaks also had doppelgangers.
I would like a TV show, Twin Peaks style of like Us, the TV show, where it's like more Twin Peaksy.
I would just like a Twin Peaks TV show.
Yeah, one that maybe has more, has a little bit more input from Mark. Is it Mark Foster?
Mark Frost.
Yeah, it's like maybe just a little.
Maybe it could even be set in Twin Peaks.
Hey, maybe David Lynch can write it and Jordan Peele can direct it, or Mark Frost can write it and
Jordan Peele. Yeah,
Jordan Peele can direct it.
Sounds good.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's like a little bit more coherent.
So I suppose we should
talk about the themes and the meanings of the.
Okay, so I mean the sort of the attributed meanings by Jordan Peele to this movie, somewhat. What was the main one you told me it was?
So when the movie ended, I was like, the movie's about nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
And the class divide and like the fact that like the doppelganger family grew up underground and weren't given the same opportunities as the family who live on the north above the thing.
Callum said that was almost a secondary.
Yeah, so according to Jordan Peele, the primary theme. Now, again, this is all art is open to interpretation.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the primary theme is the privileged nature versus nurture conversation.
Yeah.
But Jordan Peele said that, and again, I'm paraphrasing. He said that the primary theme in this film is the idea that we're our own worst enemy. And as James said before the show, these things go hand in hand.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, I don't think it's either. It's like both things are definitely true, and both things that the movie is trying to say. Like in terms of the nature versus nurture kind of class divide issue, I think that one's the most present because
the most potent.
Yeah, it's like literally they live underground and there's an escalator going up. To
I also think we should just explain who the doppelgangers are just a little more.
Yeah,
because we're going to be talking about how that plays with the theme.
Yeah. So
the doppelgangers they're essentially clones. We don't know who created them. It's not really explored.
Yeah, it's like
so just like scientist men.
It's pretty ambiguous as to if the government created them. I think the.
From what I gathered from the story, it was they were created to somewhat manipulate people above.
No, we don't know if it was the government.
At some point, the doppelganger wife, I think she's credited as Red.
Yeah.
She says something like, at some point they just kind of forgot they gave up, and so they just kind of left.
I assumed it was like
they were going to use the doppelgangers to physically control the people above.
Yeah.
They decided it wasn't too much work, and so they just left all the doppelgangers underground.
Yeah. I assumed it was CIA or FBI.
Yeah. The doppelgangers are different because they're soulless. So they can recreate the brains and the flesh of the people, but they can't allegedly recreate the soul, which is...
Red's theory is that you can clone someone, but you can't take their soul. So there's two people who are exactly the same, and they share a soul. So they're tethered. They're tethered together. And Red calls the underground doppelgangers the tethered because they're connected to
each other,
the people above. And anything that happens to the people above happens to the people below, but in a sort of
warped way,
darker, more twisted, more damaging way. Which again goes into the whole class divide problems where, the positivity doesn't flow down, the negativity flows down.
Yeah. For instance, in the movie, what's the lead lady's name?
Red.
No, the actual.
Adelaide.
Adelaide. So she meets her husband Gabe, and they have a wonderful time. But the shadow version, the doppelganger version, she has Tony thrust upon her. She didn't have any say about that.
Abraham.
Abraham.
Who's Tony?
Tony's the other family's.
Okay.
Doppelganger.
Yeah.
That's the other doppelganger. I'm sure the inverse is true.
Yeah.
But so and
their children came out all warped as well.
Yeah,
which is really messed up when you start to think about it.
She had her children by C-section, and Red had her. She had to do it herself.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of privilege thing about she's had to sort of hit the same milestones in her life, but she's struggled.
Yeah,
and
without
any
resources or
with no resources,
support.
No help.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the most prevalent of like the themes and how a lot of upper class people like to look down on poor people and say, look at them, they're all criminals, they're all bad people. But if those exact same rich people were born poor, they would probably be in the same predicament.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's so it's been proven that if you're well off or born into a wealthy family, you're more likely to be successful and have a better life than you are if you're born poor or in a poor neighborhood or whatever.
I know that it's a social conversation, but the problem I have with the idea that we're our own worst enemy in that we're not helping those below us in the theme of the film is that, as far as I'm aware, only the people who made these doppelgangers know they exist. So, and I know this is just anal, but it's not like Adelaide, for example, doesn't know that there's sewer people living under the tunnels and they're not helping them.
That's kind of the twist at the end, is that she...
Yeah, but I'm does. Yeah. Okay, well, Gabe does it. You know what I mean?
Like, most people don't know.
They don't know about this whole race of people suffering under the ground.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a kind of... But that's why I feel like it's the weaker message.
You could also argue that it's like...
But we're all Adelaide.
It's intentional. Yeah, it's intentional that we actually do know, we just don't want to think about it. Because it'll hurt or we don't want to try and fix the problems because it's too hard. So we ignore it. Or out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
That's true, yeah.
If you live in a wealthy neighborhood and all the bad stuff's happening in the poor neighborhood, they don't care.
I just don't want them sleeping in my doorway, James.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, people like, upper class people, people of influence, they don't care until it encroaches on their
neighborhoods.
Yeah. And even then, they're still like, once they get rid of the problem, it's like they don't care about.
I mean, it's a commentary on society as a whole that people, necessity or not, people only look out for themselves because they know this could happen to them and they're not going to get any support.
Yeah.
So it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, is that people are less likely to have empathy for people that are poorer than them because they need to keep themselves out of such a situation. So it's like, in a way, that if you were really dirt poor, James, is there any, like, would you expect help from and like someone above you?
That kind of, I guess, could kind of tie into. Well, I mean, if you have the means to help people, you should probably help people.
Look, yeah, but it's a commentary on society being.
This is a very political movie when you think about it. But I think that the problem is, as a middle class person, there's not that much you can realistically do to pull people below you up because you don't really have the financial means to do so.
Not financially, but just in terms of...
Yeah, but it's the people up the top who can bring everyone up who don't. They barely extend a hand to the middle class.
And of course, this is made worse in America where everything is monetized. Education is monetized. Healthcare is monetized.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I feel like, while Gabe could have helped Doppelganger Gabe, Adelaide could have helped Red. It's really the institution that lets everyone down.
Yeah, exactly. It's the system.
So that's like
who created the problem in the first place. Of
exactly. So the scientists,
the government, evil government.
So
experiment.
The doppelgangers are killing their respective tethered families.
Yeah.
The real problem is that they were created in the first place.
Exactly. And it's the Frankenstein problem of you don't create a monster and then just be like, oh, it's scary, peace out, dude. And then the monster's like, what do I do? Everyone hates me. It's that classic.
I'm sure they weren't created evil. They were turned into that over a long period
Nature
of
versus
time.
nurture,
Yeah, exactly. And also, they obviously don't have the mental capacity to kind of
they can't
go
even
out on
talk
that because they're basically shell versions of their...
They're voiceless.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the voice.
They're the voice, but also like they can only kind of copy what their above selves are doing. So it's like they don't really have agency until Adelaide, who is from above, shows them.
Yeah.
You know?
And like you have once your doppelganger, once your tethered family is dead, then they can see you. Do you know what I mean? Like if you had to see one, you would rather see the wealthier, the privileged version. You know, it's only when they're gone that you're forced to see the tethered.
Yeah. I think, did I mention it last week? Jordan Peele's Weird City, the kind of anthology.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, the anthology, kind of sci-fi comedy series. That was a good show, and Jordan Peele, I think, co-created that and produced that. But that definitely has the whole show is pretty much about the class divide, and it's set in a city called Weird City that literally has above the line and below the line. So if you live below the line in the city, you live in the poor area, and if you live above the line, you live in the rich area.
Is it the poverty line?
Like there's literally a wall in
like
the middle of the
line,
city, and you can cross it, and if you have work, and you can go across, and it's like it's mostly fun, like it's comedy, but you know it has that same social commentary.
Yeah.
So it's something Jordan Peele obviously has already dealt with, and I think it's interesting because then you've got the idea of out of sight, out of mind, or like because we see the movie from Adelaide's perspective. We see her as the hero, and because we see Red come in and destroy everything, like we see her as the villain. But then the twist at the end kind of reveals that Adelaide was the villain the whole time, in a way.
Yeah,
not
in a literal sense.
Yeah, it's a grey area, but so it's kind of like because we're following a certain character, we think, well, they have to be good. So it's kind of like if because we're not seeing.
Yeah, it's about perspective.
Yeah, it's like if you've never actually experienced poverty or whatever, like why would you care about it?
Yeah, it's about empathy, right? So
exactly.
We have more in common with Adelaide than we do in Red.
Yeah.
So when we look at Red, we're like, that's the bad guy. She's weird. She doesn't talk like we do.
Yeah.
Her morals are different, so therefore she has to be the bad guy.
Exactly.
When again, I mean, technically she's the bad guy, but in an overall in her overall life story, she's not really that bad.
No.
So I mean, she does bad things, but she does bad things to achieve what she believes are her moral goals.
Yeah, and it also reveals that it's like the reason she kind of acts the way she does, and the reason her kind of inner murderer comes out when she's attacking the other family is because she's from the underground. It's like not that makes her a bad person,
no.
just but you know what I mean.
It's
like
the swap.
Yeah, it's like the swap. It's like we've been.
For spoiler alert, Red, the bad guy, is the actual little girl from above.
Yeah.
Who gets essentially swapped, kidnapped and swapped with Adelaide.
Yeah.
Not kidnapped. I should say Red is Adelaide as a little girl who gets forced into the underground where Red, in quotation marks, Adelaide takes her
takes her place. Yeah.
It's just swapsies.
But it's cool as well because the entrance to this underground
it looks so cool.
habitat is like in this hall of mirrors at like a carnival, and it's like literally a hall of mirrors. So it's like a reflection of.
You're forced to see yourself.
Yeah, you're forced to see yourself.
Well, isn't like the tagline for the Hall of Mirrors, "Come and find yourself"?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and that's kind of the other theme of the movie, which is kind of a reflection of your introspection. Yeah. It's also kind of where Black Mirror, the show, gets its name. It's a dark look at our society now. It's like it's not the real world. It's reflected in a black mirror of what. Yeah. So and the same with Twilight Zone or any other kind of similar show. And it's the same in the movie. It's like a reflection of what's happening now. But yeah, like like we were saying with the other theme of like the problems, there's definitely a systematic problem and a problem of oppression from upper class or government or whatever. But then there's also you have to look at your own, what you're doing to feed the monster.
Exactly. As Jung would say, the shadow, that dark part of yourself.
Exactly.
And we all have it.
Red says, she's like, we are your shadow. Like, we are your shadow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, and that's kind of what Jordan Peele has also said about the movie is like, it's not just about looking at the other and saying like they're the bad guys, they're making the problem.
They are us.
It's exactly. It's saying like
it's not necessarily just being like everyone has a dark half. It's also saying as a society, the people in poverty, the people below the line, as you're referring to, they are us.
Exactly. There's a line in the film which, I mean, when we talk about this, it seems very clever now. When I think Gabe says, "What are you?"
Yeah.
Red goes, "We are Americans."
Yeah. Exactly. Also, us, US.
Yeah, US. Yeah,
no, but like legit, like we are Americans.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the idea that they're the same as you under the law, but because of the circumstances in which they were born or raised, they are completely shut off from the good parts of society.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, like that's what Jordan Peele was saying is like, it's not just enough to point the finger. It's like maybe the monster is you. I don't think he's saying you're the problem. He's just saying you have to reflect on what you're doing to combat the problem or not doing to combat the problem, or how you're playing into the problems.
Yeah,
like
I mean, we're all small parts of a bigger machine at the end of the day.
Exactly.
I'm sure I could give more money to charity to help. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about the things we do or don't do. So, like, I'm sure I could probably give more of my money to charity.
Yeah.
At the cost of my own personal expense. But I'm also sure there's so many choices we make in every day and every week that have a flow-on effect that cause more problems, more wastage, more, At the same, and frankly, even who you vote for, I know there's an election coming up.
Yeah.
So if you vote for someone you know is not going to help a poverty problem, that's still a part of the problem.
Yeah.
At the same time as well, it doesn't have to be that sort of big. It can be as simple as just be kind.
Yeah, exactly.
Half the time, it doesn't. It can have a small scope.
Yeah, be self-aware and be empathetic and like be introspective sometimes. Yeah, I think the movie. It's like I said, we have to rewatch it to get all the stuff out of it, but it's like it's a movie you can think about a lot and get different things out of it and see different themes and so on.
It's also worth noting that an interesting thing is you never see Adelaide eat meat. She doesn't drink alcohol. She only drinks water and she eats fruit. Now I'm wondering if, because the people that's headed underground allegedly only eat rabbits.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering, does that do something to your stomach? Having the same kind, like how for cats, for example, you can only give them the same type of food.
I can't remember, but I feel like the one time we see the tethered they're eating raw meat.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like more animalistic. Like
like would it make her sick to eat like cooked meat? Do you know what I mean? Like, I just thought that was interesting when I read about it on the net.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Everyone else is having burgers and she's like eating strawberries or something. Yeah, that's
just
interesting.
Just a little.
Like I think like there are some people online, and this happens when every movie comes out, that are screaming and crying about plot holes, and it's like just because something isn't directly explained to you or is ambiguous does not mean it's a plot hole.
No, I just thought that was interesting.
And the whole underground government experiment.
It doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah, it's like
they were abandoned. That's all you need to know.
Exactly. Like it's more interesting to think about what happened than to just have character or flashbacks or characters just tell you straight up.
Yeah, I'd rather not have the handhold.
Exactly, and the fact that Red says something about like they forgot like and it's been generations or something. Look, so it's like these people underground have probably just grown up that way and kind of had children of their own and
by force.
And they had things forced upon them because of their upper world selves.
I think that in the context of this film, that would be just unnecessary explanation. You know what I mean? Like, that's just more fat. This film has enough as it is.
Yeah.
In some movies, you do need a lot of world building, a lot of explanation. This isn't one of those films. No. Jordan Peele has a direction, and he keeps it fairly tight.
Yeah, especially because it's a thriller, and it's like, you know, chasing and killers, and it's like if at the end they had to stop and slowly go through everything that was happening,
it would break the momentum. Yeah.
Is someone playing music? Why?
That's live radio for you. I hope you can't hear that. Someone in the green room out there is blasting music.
On the one day we have extra time on the show. What the hell? Maybe go to a break.
We'll take a quick break and we'll be back right after this. You are back on the Tuesday review. Sorry about that, everybody. We had a couple of technical issues.
Yeah, there's one thing we have to deal with on the radio. But what we were talking about.
We were talking about the overall themes of the movie.
The government control experiment, if that's what it was, and how, that underground society, and I thought, it was interesting,
I think
it's the questions that raises, just in terms of a science fiction, not even with the themes, just science fiction world building point of view. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, but I also think it's just an easy jump pad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's also a way for Jordan Peele to say what he wants to say.
Yeah. And now, I mean, we've got half an hour left of the show, and there's a fair bit left to talk about. I wanted to talk about the idea to use the scissors as the primary murder means.
Yeah, because they're the tethered.
Yeah. Now, in all big iconic horror movies, Halloween, he has the kitchen knife, Texas Chainsaw. Yeah, so on and so forth.
He has the hedge trimmer.
No, but in this film, it's a golden pair of scissors.
Yeah.
Now, forgetting the fact that we don't know how they formed these scissors.
Well, that's another thing. People are like, oh, it's so dumb. This movie makes no sense. It's full of plot holes. I'm like, they're in a government underground tunnel facility that spans the entire United States.
That somehow was a secret program.
And you can't believe the scissors.
Yeah, it's like, and the scissors and the jumpsuits are the problem. I'm like the workers in the facility could have had jumpsuits, and if everyone gets a jumpsuit, it's not a thing to be hung up on.
Exactly. If they're biological entities, it sort of makes sense that any government workers underneath would have at least some sort of bio protection.
Also, there is a definitely magical element to the movie, the same way there is in Get Out, where the operation, which I won't spoil if people haven't seen Get Out. If you haven't, do yourself a favour.
There's a certain amount of magical realism.
Yeah, there's an operation that happens in Get Out where it's it doesn't really make sense, but it's there's a bit of magic involved, and it's the same in this. It's yes, the jumpsuits and the scissors might be more symbolic, but it's that's it. It's get over it.
Exactly.
If you're getting hung up on that.
No, exactly. So my point is how stylish it is.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that they go around stabbing people with the golden scissors.
It's even yesterday I tweeted about the movie, and it's when you hashtag us, it comes up with the little scissors emoji.
That's awesome.
It's already part of the iconography.
Yes,
is that the word?
Yeah.
Of the film and the impact it's having.
Like I said, when the credits started rolling, I said that movie was iconic.
Yeah,
this is going to go down in the horror canon now.
Yeah, people are going to be talking about it
in the same way that
Get
Out was.
Yeah,
with what was the thing in Get Out?
It was in the sunken place.
It was in the vernacular when
I
they
think
came
you were going to say Childish Gambino. Because he played
Redbone.
No, but I just love the fact that the scissors represent the cutting of the tether.
Yeah,
we kind of mentioned that before, but we skirted over it.
Yeah.
So the idea is the scissors motif cuts the tether, which binds the tethered and the people above. So now there's only one left.
Yeah.
So when the cutting of the tape, so to speak, is the murdering of your doppelganger.
Yeah.
And I suppose it goes both ways.
That's another thing I thought was interesting is when Red kills, I guess as Adelaide kills Red, and I was wondering, it's does she get the part of her soul back that she was sharing, or is it not really a sharing thing? It's just a connection.
Yeah. So my feeling is it's both a connection and it's also an unnatural one. So it becomes natural when there's only one.
Yeah.
So whether that's a tethered or one of the privileged
but it's
people.
It's not if you kill your doppelganger, you don't then become whole. Like
it's not Highlander.
Yeah, the doppelgangers, the underground people, if they kill their above ground selves, they don't then gain the ability to speak and memories. It's like they're just
not forced to do the same actions.
Yeah,
they
have no one to control them.
If the privileged kill their doppelganger, I suppose that thread is gone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So if the tethered kill the privileged, they're free.
But it's what you were talking about before. It flows down. It doesn't flow up. So the negative effects only flow down.
Yeah, exactly.
So when the rich kills the poor, there's no adverse reaction.
See, that's another good point as well.
So it's like the system. We don't care when a poor person dies.
Yeah.
We only care when someone who's well off dies.
That's a good point.
That's why the sort of the consequences only flow in the one direction.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really true when you look at like all the now, I mean, there was a high-profile terrorist attack not long ago in Christchurch, which 50 people sadly passed away.
Yeah.
A week after, 150 people died in a poor Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, no.
And it just didn't make the news.
There's a terrorist attack in a Middle Eastern country like every day, and just no one cares.
Like so I think that's like when someone dies in a wealthy, privileged country, everyone's like, what a disgrace. It's in a tethered country, so to speak.
It's when the little black girl or the sex worker goes missing, no one cares. When the little white girl or the beautiful blonde lawyer goes missing, everyone loses their mind.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So I think it does happen all the time. It's not just like this whole thing of the poor. It happens on a global scale.
Yeah.
Which is probably what Jordan Peele's trying to say, towards the end of the film, when it turns out it is a global epidemic, or at least America-wide epidemic.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I think some people.
It's one. It starts off as one person, but they form a chain.
Some people get hung up, kind of like Get Out and a lot of other movies with social commentary. People get hung up on certain things, and they're like, "This is just about racism," or "This is just about America." But it's like, no, there are larger problems around the world that have these same symptoms. Racism is global. It's not just America. Now, it might be coming through an American lens because it's a Jordan Peele movie and it's set in America. It's about American people and
And also, I mean, Get Out's about institutional racism. It's not really about like. I'm a believer that there are two types of racism. There's the institutional racism.
Yeah.
Also, like the white privilege system.
Yeah.
But there's also the hate that comes inside a person.
Yeah.
Just the one they have.
What is it called? Interpersonal racism.
It's also like micro or macro racism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's we should also say that Get Out, I mean, there was a lot of conversations when that came out.
My point is, like, it's not just about one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's not just for one specific
The danger is people misinterpreting a movie because they think they understand it.
Exactly.
I know that sounds rich coming from us. Oh, we understand movies, ha ha. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we have a better analytical skills than some of these people who just post on Rotten Tomatoes about how much it sucks.
I mean, this is a movie where it's
racist because it's about black people, which is racist again because it's like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, Andrew Bolt, stick to writing articles, please.
It comes to the sort of point where this movie is so well crafted, it touches on these multiple issues and it does it very well.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's sort of one issue, but it's multiple at the same time.
Yeah, it's like one issue. It's one issue viewed through multiple lenses. So it's the same thing, but it goes in different directions depending on how you look at it.
There are different themes spread across the movie that,
but they're under the one umbrella.
Tie into a sort of one.
I guess
main...
you can say they're all tethered.
Yeah, they're all tethered to the.
I suppose we could briefly mention the character design because that was pretty on point.
Yeah,
the reflections of the Wilson
with
family.
the red jumpsuits and the glove and the scissors.
masks.
Yeah, like Lupita Nyong'o, like when she does the voice for Red, is like next level, like scary. Like I was like, what the way she kind of breaks up words that don't have that many syllables into like it's like she can't really speak. It's like really, really well done.
So yeah, I read that the way she achieved that was she mimicked a problem that happens with vocal cords when you don't speak for a long time.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it was called. but it's an actual thing. And she was like, that's really interesting. This character, I guess, wouldn't talk for a long time.
Yeah.
So she was like, what would happen if you didn't talk for years?
It's also cool to think about how she was pretty much the one to, I guess, help these underground doppelgangers like communicate with each other.
Because
So
she was the only one who had any ability to communicate.
So the reason she can speak is because she's actually from above ground.
Yeah.
And I guess the only reason the other doppelgangers can communicate with grunts and stuff is because she kind of came up with a system.
But they also use a lot of
communication.
hand gestures, which is cool.
That was cool.
Like hand,
She's
sort of like almost military style hand gestures.
She makes like a click noise with her mouth and...
Well, that makes sense. I mean, it's probably easier to communicate through gestures and vocal cords if you've never spoken.
Yeah, that's true. That bit's cool too, where the family's standing out the front of the house and they're all silhouetted, and Winston Duke's character,
and they look like the paper cutouts.
Yeah, and he's like, you want to get crazy, and he's carrying the back, and then like she makes the hand gesture, and the kids just split off. I'm like, that's so scary. Like, it's like that bit in Get Out where, is it Chris, I think the main character's Chris. He's like, gets to the parents' house and the guy's just running at him. Full.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the, and then he just kind of veers off. And I'm like, that's such a cool, like, horror movie thing that I think Jordan Peele does it really well.
Some of these scenes, man, they're terrifying.
Yeah. Should we talk about the Hands Across America thing?
Yeah.
Because, like...
Apparently it was a waste of money.
What do you mean?
The original Hands Across America in the 80s.
Oh, you mean the actual...
Yeah.
I thought you meant in the movie they wasted money doing it.
Sure, James. We can talk about that if you want.
No, I mean...
I know.
Because the movie ends with the doppelgangers in the red jumpsuits, like...
Doing hands
across, like holding hands.
Yeah, like a warped Hands Across America.
It seems that every time if you kill your own doppelganger, you can then join the line. And so once everyone in America is slowly killed off, the doppelgangers join the line and do Hands Across America. And Red reveals that this is some sort of like protest.
Yeah, like now
it's a
you
gesture.
can see us.
Our time in the sun.
Yeah, it's like it's not necessarily about killing and replacing your above world selves and becoming rich and becoming successful. It's more about like just pay attention to us.
So like the people are forced to see you now.
Yeah. Which I guess is, like you were saying, Hands Across America might have been the original might have been a failure. It's like this version is like the twisted, like, FU version.
It's like all the chaos and destruction. Like, you're forced. Like, the media has no alternative but to focus on it.
And if I'm not mistaken, at the end, they're all news helicopters. Yeah. They're not military or police helicopters.
No, there's no guns.
Yeah, so it's like, there are at least... Whether it was successful or not, and like it's not that Jordan Peele is condoning violence. It's just like I said, like we said before, it's a movie. It's
also, I mean, if a whole class of people wanted to have their voices heard, in a country like America, which doesn't have compulsory voting, like the vote in America, as we know, has very limited power unless you're from a few certain states. Yeah. So their democracy is a bit different than ours, so they have a harder time being heard. Well, Australia's not perfect, but our voting system allows us to be heard more.
Yeah. We still have somewhat gerrymandered electoral seats.
That's not my point. My point is for a whole class to be heard in a place like America, it needs to be something big. So in this movie, it's violence because that causes the media to pay attention.
I mean, and we'll say, look, France likes its revolutions for a reason because they work.
Well, no, but my point is like the reason that I think all the Tethered kill and they make a hoo-ha, for lack of a better term, all the violence, the explosions, the wrecks and all that is because it's a spectacle. The media gets off on spectacle. The 24-hour news cycle. It needs an endless cycle. It's like
it's like we were saying before. It's like people only care when a rich person is killed or goes missing. So
when you set the world on fire, that's going to bring attention.
Yeah, if the doppelgangers kill someone from the above world, people are going to start noticing, and not still not going to pay attention to who's the killer.
Look, it's going to achieve nothing politically.
Yeah, until they literally just stand there with their arms interlinked.
Interlinked.
Tethered.
Little play, do you want to joke there? Interlinked.
Cells.
Cells.
Sorry about that. As soon as you said that, my brain was like, no.
Go straight to Ryan Gosling.
That was my favorite scene in the movie. Cells. Why do you keep saying that? Cells.
Anyway, yeah, so the movie essentially, after all this drama ends, all the doppelgangers have been murdered. We find out at the end that it's actually Adelaide that's the doppelganger.
Yeah.
Although she's pretty cool with it. She doesn't mind too much. The son might know.
And it's also a nice little reveal in the movie that she doesn't talk after she's rescued from the House of Mirrors.
Yeah,
because she's never
how.
learned how to talk.
Yeah.
No, but my point is, she doesn't seem too shaken. She seems okay. She smiles at the end of the movie because she knows she got away with it.
Yeah.
She's fooling him. And now there's no one who can tell her secret.
The boy knows.
The boy, yeah.
I mean, we don't know how much he knows, but he knows something's interesting. And you don't know what Red told him either. Because you don't see what happens after he gets taken. Oh, yeah,
he gets taken and then you don't see him for a while.
Yeah, so we don't know what transpired.
It's possible, yeah.
But I thought that the ending was pretty good. I was okay with the ending.
Yeah.
It was good.
No,
I like that. There's that scene in the final fight scene between Adelaide and Red
where
cool. It juxtaposes their dancing routines.
Yeah.
Because that was the character's motivation.
Yeah.
I thought that was really stylish.
That was cool.
Really cinematically
done.
That
was a cool,
warped dancing, the crawling.
I guess you call it a fight scene, but it's like
more Eastern Promises kind of.
Yeah, more. No. Like it's more like like a weird twisted dance kind of
fight.
Yeah, juxtaposing their upbringings, I guess. Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
Overall, an excellent movie. It's in our top 5 so far. Look, and it will probably end in our top 5 unless the year takes a very big turn.
Realistically, no matter what happens, top 10 at least.
It's still a really good movie.
Incredible film. Like I said, it was incredible. I highly recommend.
Is it going to beat Shazam, Callum?
Look, realistically, no.
So Callum's so excited for Shazam.
No, this movie will beat Shazam because this is cinema. Shazam isn't cinema. Shazam's a blockbuster.
Okay, yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like Shazam's going to be
it's
good.
It's a different kind of.
Yeah, but like
you can't really compare.
That's
them.
what I was saying to Nathan.
Like you can, but you can enjoy both movies equally.
What was that movie? Inheritance. What was it? Hereditary.
Oh yeah.
That movie didn't get critically acclaimed as much as other.
No, I think it did.
Not as much as Us or Get Out or whatever, but.
Maybe not as much, but it was still getting pretty big buzz.
That was a cinema horror movie.
My mum thought it was crap.
Yeah, but
Hereditary was not as good as everyone was saying it was.
Yeah, but that's true.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, I'm really happy to see these kinds of real cinema horror movies.
Then you can take into the argument of, what does that even mean? You know,
I mean, it's like a horror movie that's not just about the cheap shock thrills. That has an actual thought.
That still has legitimacy and as an art form. That's not.
Do you mean the shock horror movies?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But
genre filmmaking.
In the old term, I patronize the shock horror movies. I go to see them.
But I'm saying when Get Out came out, people are like, this is a cinematic masterpiece, and it was nominated for Oscars and all this, and it's like. And people were really trying hard not to call it a horror movie. Every time, Hereditary is the same thing. It's
horror movies get a bad rap.
It's like if you call it a horror movie, people think it's schlocky crap. But it's like we can still have horror movies that are great.
Yeah, that's
films.
what I'm saying.
And it's like, but they're still allowed to be horror movies.
Yeah,
they're allowed to be a bit cheesy and scary.
It's really nice to see a horror movie that actually has some cinematic chops on it.
Yeah,
as opposed to just
we shouldn't be afraid of
I'll call a horror movie a horror movie.
As cheap and crappy as most horror movies are, it's still a great genre that people love, and it's like we shouldn't be afraid to
use that term.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's what I'm saying. I love the fact that we're getting horror movies now. Not a lot, but I love the fact that they're taking risks.
Yeah.
And they're making... Because horror movies traditionally
people
don't do well.
People taking it a bit more seriously.
They don't do well in the box office. Not all of them.
Horror movies? Yeah. They do extremely well.
They don't do well critically.
They don't do well critically. I'm sorry. I mixed my words up.
Blumhouse has a word for you.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad that we get to see...
Flicking through his $100 bills.
Jason Blum wants a word.
It takes his cigar in his mouth. Like, what?
When we saw this movie, my thought was, I'm lucky to be alive in a period where I can go to the movies, watch a film, and say, no, that's a classic.
Speaking of like horror movies, being like more taken seriously and more legitimate, more critically acclaimed. Do you see Jim Jarmusch's making a zombie movie? Do you see that trailer with Adam Driver and Bill Murray?
I saw the poster for it.
I've seen the poster. I haven't watched the trailer.
Watch the trailer after the show. Like it's like crazy because Jim Jarmusch is more of a, I guess, art house kind of not indie, but and it's like he's making like a weird zombie comedy, and I'm just like, this looks weird.
He's going to be competing with Zombieland 2.
Yeah, I haven't seen Zombieland, so I remember liking it. But
it's a good movie.
I feel like people are overhyping Zombieland 2. It's not going to be as good as people think it's going to be.
I agree there.
Especially because it's been like 10 years since.
I agree. I'm a massive fan of the original.
Yeah, I think people are overhyping it.
I think they are. I don't think they can beat. No. They can beat it with the sequel.
No. But yeah, the only last thing I want to mention is when they're on the beach and Jason wanders off and she's yelling, Jason, and it was like, press X to Jason.
I was like, heavy rain,
Jason. She keeps saying it. It's like, and I'm like, everything
this has been done before.
But everything in Jordan Peele's movies, I'm like, is this intentional?
Jason.
Oh, one thing we forgot to talk about. So the Twilight Zone reboot, Jordan Peele is producing that and plays the narrator, the sort of Rod Serling role.
Does he play it like Rod Serling?
Yeah.
What a chance.
I mean, in a Jordan Peele...
Yeah.
I mean, it's still Jordan Peele being Jordan Peele, but
Peele.
He's got the suit and he comes out onto the scene.
Does he talk like...
No.
Look, Mr. Peele,
which is...
if you're listening to the show...
Please come on the show.
No. I was like, you have a standing offer to come on the Tuesday Review anytime you please.
Oh my God, yes, please.
We'll buy you dinner.
Yeah, exactly. We love
we'll buy you HSPs. I bet you he's never had a HSP.
Yeah, no, that's true. Melbourne does them the best.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else has
Northern
HSP.
suburbs specifically.
I think even like the whole like western part of Australia doesn't have HSP.
But my point is, I love his work so much.
Coast.
I like what he's doing.
Yeah.
I like where he's going.
Yeah. But anyway, like the Twilight Zone show reboot's coming out, and everyone's really excited for it. And the first 2 episodes have dropped. I watched them this morning. The first 2 weren't great, but I liked them, and I'm excited to see more.
Hopefully, it'll get renewed.
Do they have that sort of Twilight Zone spirit?
Yeah, I mean, as much as all these anthology shows kind of do.
Yeah, but like the Twilight Zone, sort of some of the episodes had like almost not a message, but like...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of like, like Jordan Peele, having these social thrillers and being involved in a lot of these things that have these social commentaries and stuff. Like, I'm excited to see what the Twilight Zone does with that, because Twilight Zone has always had that, traditionally has had those sort of civil rights messages and so on. The first couple episodes that have dropped of the new Twilight Zone show have some of that, but not really anything so big so far. They look nice, they sound nice, cast's incredible, but yeah, I feel like the writing needs to be a little bit tighter. Like there's just a bit of sloppiness going on with the whole, the twists and the turns. I suppose
that's the risky take, though, with a TV show.
I'm excited to see more. I hope they do more original stories, because the first one's sort of an original story, but it's like loosely based on, I think, one of the new Twilight Zone, from the 80s episodes. I think it's called Take My Life, Please. It's not the same. It's different to that, but it takes some elements. And then the second episode is a remake of Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which is now called Nightmare at 30,000 Feet. I like that they didn't just do the same thing again. Like, it's not a direct remake. I like that they kind of modernized it and changed it a bit. But so I like that. But it'd be good to see more original.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of taking from older episodes when you can, Yeah,
it's like I feel like one of the greatest things about Black Mirror is that it follows a sort of Twilight Zone format,
but it's fresh.
But all the episodes are original. They're not based on older episodes or movies or whatever. So yeah, I'm hoping to see more original things, and because of there's so many other anthology shows, and because Black Mirror is still going strong, and I think the new season of that's coming out soon as well, I feel like they have to step it up a little bit, because there's a little bit of sloppiness, especially at the end of the second episode, where I was kind of like, that doesn't really make sense. The twist, it's always hard when you're doing a show or a movie with a twist ending. It starts to raise questions and you start to see the cracks. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the future.
I'm looking forward to watching it. I'll watch the first 2 tomorrow.
Yeah,
me too.
Seems good. It's a good time. It's a good time for a good old anthology series. We've got Love, Death and Robots recently.
Yeah.
Black Mirror,
Weird City,
of course.
Black Mirror.
Weird City, Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
American Horror Story, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
And the anthology
and that Dick one. Let's not forget Philly.
let's
not forget
Dreams.
Electric Dreams.
I don't think that was renewed though.
No, I don't think it was.
Because I can't remember the last one that came out. It was a while ago.
And the sort of streaming landscape's perfect for the anthology.
Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully, like we were saying when we were talking about Love, Death and Robots, hopefully we just get more like weird anthology things that don't necessarily have to be part of any cohesive series. It can just be like, here's a weird little thing, here's another weird little thing. And it's always good for, especially people like us, weird sci-fi fantasy stories. It's like the more the better.
Oh yeah.
Like
even if it's not that great, just
more.
Just
give me more. Hook it to my veins. So I think that is the first time almost ever that we've actually gotten to discuss a movie properly from start to finish.
Pretty much said everything we needed to say.
I hope so. I hope there's nothing that I've forgotten that I'm going to be beating myself over the head.
I think we did pretty well.
Yeah.
And we're only 200% past our normal running time.
Yeah. But like usually it's like we have to rush and then we're like, all right, get out. But this time we have to, and next week we're hoping to lengthen the episode by staying in the studio but going off air.
Yeah, so
and just using the equipment to record extra time.
Yeah, so next week's episode, the first hour will be live for our live listeners. But then we'll record a second hour during Car Talk with Matty J.
Yeah.
That will go onto the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Matt's show will go on air, and while we're still in the studio recording to our recorder, and then that'll go up on the net.
Exactly.
I'll release it as 1 2 hour episode.
So it'll be smooth.
For our live.
I mean, we'll mark the transition because there'll be an audio change in the quality, and also the live aspect will have to go off. But we'll talk. We'll obviously notify that when.
But just a little bit of a warning in advance for our live listeners. If you listen next week, it might also be worth checking out the podcast.
Yeah, I don't think there are live listeners. I think most people already listen to the podcast. But yeah, the podcast is the
optimal way.
Yeah, it's the essential, it is the version of the show. The live version is a bit sloppy sometimes, and I have to cut some stuff. And obviously we have some technical problems. But yeah, the podcast version is the show. Which is another reason why we're hoping to get our own equipment and just do long form podcasts
like this.
Well, yeah, but without this, without
the restrictions that we have.
Even this room, isn't a restriction in a way. So, I mean that's pretty much it for tonight. Callum, take us out.
Yep, sorry about this.
Autobots roll out.
Roll out.
So please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter @TuesdayReviewAU and rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. You can find our previous episodes on your favorite podcasting apps. Adios, cousins.